All right.
I always mute myself.
Yeah. All right. On this training, going to be going over 4 growth engines and how you can use these as like a really good platform for scaling. Um, the strategies, the 4 growth engines, the referral systems, all those things are meant to serve as like your client acquisition foundation, but they also can kind of shape your company. And that's what this training is going to be about, is like what that looks like, how to use them in that way, and how things kind of can grow and scale as you go. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. Cool. All right. So scaling the 4 growth engines and referral systems with the team. As a reminder, 4 growth engines. All of us should have them pretty well in place. They're going to be some direct mail strategies around appointments and builds, canvassing strategy around appointments and build, how you're communicating with the homeowners and prospects and even the neighbors, and then how you're using social media and kind of documenting what you're doing. 4 growth engines are designed to get you more jobs in the areas that you're already working. So it's all about making sure that you can be that roofing contractor that's there, that's serving the area, that's making sure that they have a really good presence anywhere they go. And one individual component of the 4 growth engines, remember there's all 4. If you just do direct mail, you're probably going to be underwhelmed. If you just send a few strategic text messages, you'll probably be underwhelmed. If you just do the social media, you'll probably be underwhelmed. The canvassing will probably work even if you just did it. But the point that I'm making is all of these things are designed to work together so that there's as many touch points as possible that you're creating with the neighbors. And we're not wanting to create these touch points in a way that are intrusive, or even that we want to make it not even as if you're soliciting business as much as building just relationships, making aware that you're in the area, and ensuring that the right people are coming in for the right things. Referral system. There's a few different ways of doing it, but in some way or the other, we want to have a documented and formalized referral system. We want to make sure part of that referral system is about them doing things or taking steps to get you in front of their networks. We want to have a process for getting people to actually sign up. And we want to make sure that we're promoting the referral program to anyone we talk with that we're currently working with, but also to past customers as needed. And the referral systems, you guessed it, are designed to get you more jobs from who you are working with. So our initial goal in working together, one of the first things we work on with our clients, with you guys, is we want to build the client acquisition foundations to get more jobs in the areas you are working and get more referrals from who you are working with. The advantages that this will afford you is, one, and simple, is just an organic way of getting more business from your current baseline of business. So each of you, even if you're a brand new company or an existing company, without these strategies, are going to have some baseline of work. You're going to have your own networks. You're going to have other lead sources that maybe you already had. You're going to maybe have referrals from past clients before we even organize things. You might have trade partners that refer you business. There's a million different things that could make up your baseline. But the point is, without these strategies, your business isn't going to be at zero. So these strategies are meant to take that current baseline and get more out of it. Turn that baseline into more and more opportunities. Second advantage is it compounds and creates exponential growth. Y'all heard me talk about that over and over and over again. One to many. Those many, each the same process that turned one to many turns each of those many into many more, and so on. So it just spreads like a web or a snowball effect or whatever you want to say. But it creates exponential growth. At some point, there will be a curve like that, not just steady. At some point, you're going to get more and more for the same amount that you're putting in. 3 is you're working with warmer leads who are less inclined to put you in a competitive situation. So you have these people that you're talking with, either they're the neighbors or the referrals. There's less of a chance that they're going to be comparing you evenly or equally to anyone else. If you are doing the neighbor's roof, then you have an advantage that no other company has, an advantage so good that they may not even look for anyone else. If you're a referral, even greater of a chance that they're not going to be looking for a bunch of people. Now, it's not a hard rule. They absolutely can, but just less of that. It's not like a home advisor lead where you can just pretty much automatically know that you're going to be in a situation where you're bidding or competing against other businesses. And also, it can be set up in a repeatable way and takes away the emphasis on closing and puts more of an emphasis on just getting in front of the right people. That's sort of a continuation of it's warmer leads. Now, this doesn't mean sales skills don't matter. They, of course, always will. But what we're trying to do is make it so these are easier, warmer conversations, and you're able to just provide what you really are good at rather than having to work on a bunch of closing techniques um, because you want to be the one out of the 3 or 4 they're considering. So this is something that you really want to make sure that you just keep in mind. These strategies are not meant, they're not just simply a way to get business. They are a way to get business that kind of protects a little bit of how much you're competing. It is a way to get business that will get you more business. They really are things that, if ingrained properly, will allow you to grow in pretty amazing ways. The biggest advantage is it scales very well and makes scaling your team and marketing easier. As you are implementing these and getting to the point where you're ready to push further, you have 2 main levers. Increase the amount of leads that your business has. That would be one lever. Another lever is build a team and have multiple people doing these leveraged activities. So because in general, most of the time, a sales rep will have their own baseline just like the company does. So these are just 2 different levers that you have. Now, it's not that you have to choose or even should choose one or the other because they're not necessarily equal levers, but these are just the 2 choices that you have that you want to pull the lever in the right ways or the right capacity. And I'm going to show you why I think one of the most important things you can do once you have it nice and set up and once it's working well is to build a core group of salespeople around these things. So step 1, before you even bring on a salesperson or train your team on it, you have to make sure that you're clear on the process. You have to make sure that you have these things in place in a way that you understand it, you can explain it. Now, we are available for support. You have the training videos that we have that your team is welcome to see. You can have them read the PDFs and all that, but part of what we want to do with you is make the documentation so that these things are easy to understand, but you have to understand it first. I was just talking to someone today, and I've done it a bunch of times, is when people have sales problems, like I can't close or I can't do this, and then they bring on a salesperson to solve their sales problem. Usually they just expand their current problem and just add another person to share in their misery with. That's not what we want to do. We want to have a really good grasp on the process so that you can teach others to do it very effectively, because odds are they're not going to do it as well as the person training them. So that means you have to be doing these things very well and have to have a really good idea. You also have to understand why they're so key. So you have to understand the importance of this. A lot of us business owners are very used to implementing something, it working pretty well, and then thinking that we grew out of it, or thinking that another thing is now the more effective and better place to focus. And that's not what these strategies are. These strategies are meant to stay with you. They're meant to be integrated into any marketing or growth initiative that you implement. And it's important to know that like these strategies should be ingrained in the way that you even think about your business. And we're going to go over that in a second. And then once you know the processes, once you fully understand why they're important further than just the initial leads, because it's a lot more than just a leads thing, we need to make sure they're documented properly, and there is documentation for a team as you build them. And we want to make sure there are accountability measures for the team so that you can make sure they get done. So one of the main things that I think is good and is exciting is the 4 growth engines and referral generating strategies allow your business to adopt an identity and accompanying culture of a referral-based company and the friendly neighborhood roofer. To the homeowner, if they know that a lot of the business that you get is based off of referrals, that gives them confidence. It also feels pretty safe. If you're the friendly neighborhood roofer, the person that's helping a lot of others in the community without just going crazy and soliciting all the business, a lot more just like, hey, we're here to help, doesn't mean that you can't knock doors at all. But if they know that you're really kind of a piece of the community that you're in because you're helping all these people, you're making yourself a resource, then that is also safe. The nice thing, though, is having a solid referral system, not just getting referrals, but having a strong process for getting them that is pretty predictable. That can help you grow a lot. Another thing that can help you grow a lot is getting a lot of business in the neighborhoods that you're working in. These are 2 things that alone can help you grow massively. Even if you never scale it up with ads or anything like that, if you get this stuff done right and you're working on getting it dialed in, and it's always dialed in, it's a part of your company, this alone will get you to a multi-7-figure company. The nice thing, though, is that identity, that culture, that all of that serves your status among your prospects and your clients, and even people who might be considering working with you. Just your positioning in the market. Your clients benefit from that. So your status and your clients benefiting is all directly correlated. It's not just that you have the status of a really successful large company. And that sometimes helps the client, sometimes doesn't. No, the status of being referral based and being really well ingrained in the neighborhood almost always serves the client, and it always serves your team. So these are all things that create a win-win-win scenario. And this is why, like the 4 growth engines, the referral systems, you want to adopt the identity of the referral-based company and the friendly neighborhood roofer. It's not intimidating, but it scales, it grows, and it's a great way to position yourself so that more people are attracted to work with you as a client and as a team member. So your culture being a result of how you get business and show up in the market is great and a very unique advantage that you can have. There's a hustle culture that doesn't really help. There's our standards culture. That's great. We have great high standards. Our clients benefit from that. Our team benefits from that. But does that have anything to do with how you get business? Kind of, but it's not that directly correlated. No. These things, being the neighborhood roofer, being referral based, and having strong processes around those things are a result of how you get business. So it's so well ingrained into your identity in a way that actually grows with you that it's just a unique positioning that you can have. Even greater than that is what I said at the end of some of the advantages is it's all based off repeatable and scalable processes that are leveraged. It's not, we do the right thing because it's the right thing. Great value. How is it measured? It's not, we don't tolerate mediocrity. Awesome. That's so cool. How is that measured? Always do right by the company or the customer. Nice. How is that measured? Where does it end? So these are things that you need to make sure are set up and organized in a way that are repeatable. And once they are, and then once those repeatable processes result in an entirely new identity for your business that serves you, that serves your team, that serves your clients, that serves your positioning in the market and ability to get more business, it feeds itself. That's when we want to look at how can we actually scale that. So step 1 is getting really clear on that stuff. Getting clear on the process, making sure you just understand the actual tactics of it and how it works. Getting really clear on the why. So this is getting clear on the what. This is getting really clear on the why, the what and how, sorry. Then this is getting really clear on the why. So why does this matter? Why is it so relevant? Not just the surface level why, but like the broad macro why. And then once again, going back to the how, make sure it's documented and organized. So rather than you just knowing how it works, you can actually show people how it works and hold them accountable to it. So very unique opportunity for positioning. And as we're talking about the documentation and accountability, I'm going to show you some things that we have that most of you already have access to, but I just want to remind you of these and show you why they're important. Because now that we know the why, now that we know how it works, we know why it's so important. Let's look at how can we make sure it's getting done over and over again. Well, there's the per appointment checklists. This is simple. Update the CRM to trigger the first mailer. Send on the way texts. You all have scripts and stuff in your Google Drive folder on how that is and what it looks like. Put the 12 door hangers on the neighbor's door. Take a before photo for social media. Ask potential client if you need to stop by any neighbors' homes because you kind of texted them asking that. That's the insurance policy. After the inspection, knock doors of who took the door hanger down and make sure to leave the yard sign if the job is closed. Accountability. What address was it? By signing this, I am confirming that each of the above check boxes that I marked were complete. Signature. That's a simple way to hold it accountable. But this doesn't cover the why or the how. They need to understand how this stuff works. They need to understand how the SOPs work. Rapid canvassing build days. Here's an SOP that each of you guys can have access to. The build creates massive amounts of attention in the neighborhood, but especially for the neighbors. Attention can be a good thing, can be a neutral thing, and can be a bad thing. We want to leverage the already present attention and make it work for us. Creating conversations with the neighbors of build is among the best ways to turn your job into a promotional piece that you can reference while also demonstrating the type of business you are. What's the canvassing? This. So they still need to be trained up on this. It's not enough just to give them the checklist. And that's where a lot of people have gone wrong, where they watch the videos, they understand the strategies, it all makes sense. They communicate, yeah, we're going to really focus on getting the neighbors. We're going to work on our referral program. And it all feels kind of jumbled up. And then maybe they give the checklist, but the checklist alone is kind of bland. Okay, update the CRM, close the text. Okay. The 12 door hangers. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It's a good thing to do. Take the before photo. Okay. Ask the potential neighbors if you need to stop by. Go knock the doors or took the door hanger down. Make sure to leave the yard sign if it's closed. All good stuff. All things that you need to do, but the nuance still needs to be explained. And that's where the documentation and accountability are different. And we need to remember that. Per build checklist, same concept. Make sure job site has yard sign, move to sold in CRM, triggering second mail, send the day before. Build text, excuse the mess door hangers, confirm the homeowner sent info to your neighbors, sweep morning, sweep 1 mid-morning, sweep 2 late afternoon, move CRM to job complete, schedule post-build inspection, take after photo, give details / commitment on referral program, same thing, address, signature. So we want to make sure that people are being held accountable to the actions, but give details / get commitment on referral program. That requires training, that requires documentation. So important to remember that there's a big difference between that. And it's not enough just to train them. They have to read it. They have to understand it, because you might understand it based off of experience and the training and the conversations we've had. They have had less experience. They've had less conversations, and they've had less time watching the trainings, most likely. So there's just a lot that you have experienced that they need to, and you need to make sure that they are making up for it. Those are the per appointment and per build checklist. Documentation for asking for referrals, very important. Oh, that's not the right one. Yeah. This is something Brian and I went through on this call, and it was like, it inspired something that I wanted to provide for all of our clients and work with them on, is let's create an actual step-by-step for getting someone to sign up for your referral program, because it's not enough just to have it. So make sure that they study this. Make sure you practice this. If you're wondering, how do I train my sales team? How do I give them ongoing training? What do I do in sales meetings? It's not just, hey, what have you done? Because you probably know most of it. It's how are we getting better? This is an example of how we can practice. Hey, let's practice 3 times each, getting someone to sign up for the referral program. Once you've done it once, switch to the next person. And then process-driven social media. There's a lot of things. Document your day. On build day or at inspections, take 5 to 10-second videos directly on your stories. Take pictures of storm damage, go live on inspections, take before pictures. On build day, take 5 to 10-second pictures on your stories, take pictures of roof when it's fully stripped off. People aren't used to seeing that. Post and put on your story, go live and introduce the crew and just be an MC, take after photos. These are just examples of things you can do. But is it you, the owner, that should be doing this? Sure. But it's a lot better if it's you, the owner, but also your salespeople that are the one. You should be running the business. Your salespeople are the ones who are out in the field. So they're the ones who need to be trained on this stuff. So you need to make sure you understand and they understand. Then also from a social media perspective, you guys each have one of these scripts of exactly what to say with plug and play things, and then your before and after templates. So you guys have all of the stuff. This is your before and after. We have another one for reviews that we could go click on. We have all the options. So you need to make sure to use that stuff. The reason it's there is so that you can get really consistent and delegate these things. It's not so you as the owner is stuck doing them forever. But if they were made but not used, doesn't really help anyone. In fact, it just costs you money that you spent having us do it, and money that you could have made if you actually do these things on a normal basis. Two clients, one of them's on this call, that have done this stuff like really well in regards to like ingraining it into their culture. I think they both like embrace the day-to-day of having this stuff done. Brian, and I'll show you some examples, is actively, I say, in almost every social media post he does. It's like, we're helping your neighbors. We're helping your neighbors. We're helping your neighbors. Corey is helping your neighbors. Jeff is helping the neighbors. All the salespeople are helping the neighbors. Aaron has used this as a recruiting tool. So he literally used these strategies and kind of walked them through it as he was training them, or as he was recruiting them, as he was interviewing them, to make sure that they actually are interested, or to make sure that they're actually like excited about using these strategies to grow. Not, I want to be handed leads, but, oh, I'm really excited to follow this process. Brian, I stole these from your page, but just great examples. This is on his personal profile, by the way. I want to help all my neighbors, even if they don't choose us. Here's a picture. Just let us be a resource. Friendly neighborhood roofer. Out here in Clear Lake, helping the neighbors after yesterday's storms, and saw Corey on the roof next to me, helping a neighbor as well, by the way. Jason is helping neighbors identify storm damage. This is part of his culture. People who see Brian or are connected with Brian, if they did check him out, if they were about to be interviewed, they would see someone who's excited to be helping the neighbors. They would be thinking, oh, well, it's not that we're just like being provided leads of the neighbors. Like they kind of automatically know a little bit about what's going on. So very, very good example of like how this has become a part of their vocabulary. Solution roofing, here's a few. And this is another example of just like how crazy it gets. Here's him posting about his referral program. This is a featured post. Another featured post is the neighbors were so impressed. This is him, some of the people that he recruited as he's having a record year where he's over doubled. He's on pace to significantly more than double his sales. Grilling at HQ. He says these people are probably people that will be with him for the next 3 to 5 years. They're not just the random salespeople that come and go. And then this is where he said, as a result of having the right people on his team, because he's not doing this all himself, he texted me, hey, have 7 jobs going on today and 3 yesterday and a 300 square project going on. He was talking about how crazy it was, but also this happened because of his team. He can't do this himself. But this happened because he recruited the right team who from day one were following the processes that he encouraged them to follow, held them accountable to, and implemented very, very well. So going back, step 1, you got to get really, really clear on this stuff. The what, the why, the how. You need to make sure that you're able to explain the what, explain the why, and explain the how. Demonstrate the what, demonstrate the why, demonstrate the how. You have to be able to do this so that people can follow something, because they can't follow me. It gets great if they want to watch me talk on camera, but they don't even know what you know as the owner. They don't know why it's important. It would probably be more convenient to them in their minds before they really realize the difference between the leads just to get handed leads. You need to help them understand why this is so important. Step 2, recruit new salespeople and use these strategies that you have in place as a hook to get them. So this is, if you need to recruit salespeople, if you don't have them, don't do this immediately. But once you have these things pretty nice and validated, you don't have to wait too long to get to this point. 2 months of doing this really, really well and growing as a result of it is enough to begin recruiting a sales team with these strategies. You don't have to wait, but you also can't just do it on day one necessarily. Or you could, but it'll just be harder. If you already have salespeople, these two are for you. Empower the current team, especially as you're trying to get them to implement these things for the first time or get them to like kind of reignite their flame. Empower current sales team with contests, bonuses or spiffs or sales blitzes of some sort. And I'll show you some examples in a second. And then hold the team accountable using the accountability measures that were created. You have to train them and hold them accountable to what's being done. So recruiting new team. I've shown you this before, but I think it's a really good example of like how to even begin thinking about it. This is an example of a salesman job description that's templated that y'all have access to in the training area. But I made a copy of it so we could, and I underlined all the things that only you can say if you have these things in place. And that really are believable if they go check you. Fast growing roofing company. I should have underlined that because you will be, or you should already have. You should be producing a good amount of leads if you're doing this right and well. And you are service oriented, so it would make sense for them to want you to be service oriented. Look at those posts Brian made. Those posts were helping the neighbors out. We want to be of service to you, even if you don't use us. Service oriented. We have implemented a process that consistently generates new business for us and allows us to get a ton of exposure in the areas that we're working. Only you can say that if you're doing it, right? So this is a unique thing that you can say that other people can't necessarily say honestly. We are looking for people to execute on a process we have proven because you didn't just start with day one by hiring them to get in front of the right homeowners. Our clients are our number one priority. We're referral based and friendly neighborhood roofer. That matches. Well trained. We actually have things to train you on. We're not just going to throw you to the wolves. Well paid, probably, because they're going to be closing a lot of deals. You will not have to do these things. You will just have to follow our proven system designed to build your own pipeline. The strategies are relatively simple. They are. And they will help you build a pipeline of hot leads that want you to be the one to get a new roof installed because there's less competition. This is an example of like, these are things that you can say much more honestly than most people. Fully honestly, not more, not degrees of honestly. This is honest for you to say it. It would not be honest for the majority of roofing companies who are recruiting salespeople to be able to say. This would be a reason that someone would go from another team to your team. So these things are really important and unique to someone who has these strategies ingrained in their culture and in the way they do things. So recruit team. If you don't recruit the team, if you already have a team, and by the way, you might need to recruit one person to add to your existing team to really like shine as a great example of someone implementing these strategies, because sometimes it's hard to get people who have been around for a while to do things, and it's just a fact. But to kind of create the activation for them, we want to empower them, not punish them. That might come later. That'll be next if they don't do this and this stuff doesn't work. But empower the current team with contests, bonuses or spiffs, or sales blitzes. So create excitement and buzz. An example of a contest would be whoever gets the most job on one street gets $1,000 over the course of a week or a month. An example of bonuses slash spiffs: a bonus, get $500 to $1,000 on top of normal commission if you get a neighbor to sign up. A spiff: for every neighbor you get around a build, you'll get an additional 2% on the sale until the end of the month. Those would be examples of a bonus or a spiff that you can run to kind of get them started and get them excited about things. Give them a reason to implement it rather than you just telling them they have to. Sales blitzes. I'm not going to recover a lot of these because you guys know about them. And if you don't, there's a lot of trainings on them. But you can do a mastermind campaign and hit a new neighborhood. You can do a Trojan horse campaign and try to hit your old list to get additional waves of referrals and get back in areas that you've been in. Or you could just, as simple as it is, just good old-fashioned working areas around old builds. You have 5 builds that you've done in the last 3 months in areas that you want to work that are in different areas, then go to those areas and just try to shake some hands. I don't suggest or necessarily think that door knocking needs to be like the #1 way you're getting business, but sometimes you got to do it. And this is a good way to get them excited. They're not going to have fun, but if you make this a concentrated effort rather than this is your life now, it will be a little bit different. But sometimes you have to resort to a little more hands-on accountability. And that's not necessarily fun. Examples of what you can do is, if you provide your salespeople leads already, only provide leads if checklists are filled out. If they stop filling out the checklist, then you stop giving them leads. That one's easy. Another, put on probation of some sort if X amount of checklists are missed. This would be decreased commission or required sales training week, like every day, or something that would suck, something that they don't want to do. Also, it's hard to know when to fire commission only salespeople, which is what a lot of you have. This is a good indicator that you can maybe consider firing someone. If they're refusing to do the things that you are now committed to being a part of your culture and how you show up in your market, then make room for the right people and circle back to recruit new team members. So that's step 2. As you're doing that, though, the best KPIs to track with your team, whether it's a brand new team or an old team, is a minimum closing rate of 33% is what you want to create, and you want that to be the goal. And make it another goal to get 3 appointments on average as a result of every job you're doing. So 33% and 3 appointments on average. Do we know why that's so great? Because that means 1 job as a result of every job. So you're doubling your pipeline if you're doing these activities and this is happening. So 1 job as a result of every job. And the nice thing is, it's not just 1 job as a result of every job and then you start over. I told you already, you have a baseline as a company. It could be large. It could be 100,000 or 200,000, 300,000 a month in sales is your baseline. Or it could be 20,000, a couple jobs. Whatever it is, and especially if you do your document your day strategy and you're getting out there and putting yourself out there, you do have a baseline, and you still want to work on making that bigger. But say you're doing 4 jobs a month, one job, this happens with 4 of them. So 1 job equals 3 appointments equals 1 job equals 3 appointments equals 1 job. If you do it right, you have 4 jobs. So this is happening over and over and over again. This is why it's exponential growth, not just steady growth. Your 1 job might result in 3 or 4 jobs, not just 1 job. That's just the first. So your salespeople, like I said earlier, will also have a baseline, and you want them to create a baseline. And that baseline is going to usually be their network or people they just interact with, and then probably some company provided leads. At some point, you should do this. If you're a door knocking company, then that would be part of the baseline too. But it doesn't need to be huge. Between their network and company provided leads, you can start and have a salesperson really build a nice career for themselves if they're closing at 33%, and it's just about 3 appointments per week, sat appointments, not just scheduled appointments. So if about 12 appointments a month are being had, whether it's provided by the company or whether like from ads or whatever, or whether it's from their network, from their own social media, this will be a really, really, really good baseline for each of your salespeople to strive towards. How? Teach them to build their own personal brand using the document your day SOP and by sharing company posts. That's the easiest way for them to build a little strategy, is for them to be active and proud in promoting what they're doing. That should probably be a requirement of working with you, at least for new people. It's harder to do this for older people. But if people have been around and they're not cutting it, then start adding on new people and either choke them out or have them come join what's working. So this is how you should have the baseline, this is their baseline. Also, as a company, at some point, you still should invest in marketing to fill in the gaps. You should either run some Facebook ads or Google ads or have LSA going, or even Home Advisor, Thumbtack, Paper Lead, whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. Just enough to pretty much fill in the gaps and make sure that the salespeople have enough at bats to where they can really begin this compounding process. 3 appointments per week outside of the 4 growth engines and referral systems would equal 1 job a week. That's why that 3 is important. If they're doing 1 job a week, and that 1 job's turning into 3 appointments, turning 1 job into 3 appointments, 1 job, they're doing pretty well. Them having a baseline allows the machine to get fed. The sales and marketing machine, the 4 growth engines, the referral system gets fed. You can't milk a neighborhood or a network of people forever. You do need fresh leads. It doesn't just go on forever. If you work the system really well, you probably can get about this much. Probably about 2 jobs as a result of every job would be a fair assumption. It's not going to last forever. So you have to have a baseline of some sort. You have to be getting into new areas or new groups of people, whatever it is. And I say new areas, like it could be 3 blocks away, just not the immediate vicinity. So you want to scale your business like this using a core group of 3 to 5 sales reps. And in order to scale it more, it's not scaling your sales team as much as scaling your marketing and trying to put them at capacity. Once it's scaled, you should be able to provide about 5 appointments per week to each rep on top of whatever their baseline is. This would put them they'd be a very successful sales rep if you were able to do this and they were following the other processes. You don't want to do this from the start. You don't want someone to start with 5 appointments a week from you. They will get lazy. They need to get used to building their own pipeline and growing. And you can't have such an aggressive commission structure to where one job a week is enough. If that's enough for them, then that's going to be tough to get them to do all the other activities aside from you just having to be on top of them for it. And then you're going to probably have to cycle through a few, which will happen. But it's important to know, like, you need to make sure that you're keeping them hungry. It doesn't mean that you have to have a bad commission structure. You still should be generous, but find different ways to reward them. I like a $500 a week salary with a little bit less commission rather than some 10% or 12% gross commission. 10% gross, there's not much you can do extra there. That's kind of maxed out. So a salary gives you a little more wiggle room, and you can also create cycles that repeat. Like 5 roofs, after 5 roofs in a calendar month, they get, maybe their commission goes up 2% for the rest of the month. Whatever it is, you want to protect yourself and give them something they're always striving for. So each rep really should be $1 million producer. Like, if you're going to grow, you want to get organized, you want to make sure that you're using these strategies to scale, you really should be able to create a lot of $1 million producers. If someone has been with you for 2 years and they're not going to hit $1 million, then that probably means, hard truth, they're just not a killer. You don't have to replace them necessarily, but you should be aware that if you do have 3 killers and 1 not killer, and that 1 not killer has a strong personality, that can turn into a cancer within your company. So you do just want to be aware that, like, a low performer is not good for culture. So if you do this right, with a good group of 3 to 5 salespeople, a project manager or 2, and an office admin, your business really should be able to get to 4 to 6 million just with this group. Now, if you're insurance, you might have more office staff because there's just more to do. And then you just keep pouring more fuel on the fire. Keep on doing the same cycle of scaling that I talked about right here, right? 5 appointments per week. Try to get people there, not start them there, but get people there. And keep on doing that. Grow the office staff as needed, grow the appropriate crew/project manager combo, and you'll be able to keep growing. You will at some point want to get your SEO dialed in. You will at some point want to spend maybe a lot of money on Google ads, Facebook ads, but only when you have these other things dialed in. There is an order to make sure that this remains profitable. So this is the end. I appreciate you guys for being here, and want to open it up for questions. Any questions? I know we only have a couple people here.
Could you go back and just talk about me a little bit more, please?
Yeah, yes, of course. Brian is amazing. Very handsome in a suit.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
But Brian, you're a good example of someone who, like, I mean, these things, you've always had kind of the neighborhood, like, let's get more jobs in the areas we're working approach. But having a repeatable way of getting it done, like, I mean, it's been, what I'm pretty sure, pretty impactful for you. So it's just like, it's one of those things where, like, if this becomes your culture, it can allow for just different conversations, different type of marketing.
I tell you, the cool conversations that are going on with my sales guys right now is how much easier this is than having to go knock all the time.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. Like, energy management is important for salespeople. And I love the fact that they are willing to go out and knock. And, like, that means you have some people who are hustlers. But also having the ability to give them a break or having the ability to evolve out of that or grow out of that is pretty awesome. And the work might slow down and then they're going to have to knock again. But once they get in a new neighborhood, guess what? They keep pushing. They do the cycles and things start working again. So it's good. It's good. Zach, anything?
No, I'm just taking it all in. You know, it's just me, so I'm just curious to see how easy it's gonna be to get sales guys on board with it. But
It'll be
pretty effective.
Yeah, once as you get it going for a little bit and you can and you feel as though you're starting to work like when you don't feel like you have a good break from the 8-hour days or 10-hour days and 8-hour days, that's nothing. Sorry. 10-hour days. Start an internet business, y'all learn. But if once you get to the point where it's like I'm getting close to capacity, or like you see that on the horizon, and or when you have stacked up a good amount of cash and you're pretty happy with your pipeline, you should be, I mean, a month to 2 months of doing this really, really well, and then reaping the sales from it and like closing the sales from it, not just generating the appointments, but actually like going the full collecting it all too.
Yeah.
That's probably about as long as you need before you start bringing on like a salesman or two. Probably start with two. Don't just hire one. And you might not be able to do a salary to start, or you might just not want to, but just build a commission structure that gives you room to reward them or gives them room to grow. So like maybe it's 7% of gross, and then once they close 5 deals for the month, they get 9% of gross. Like something that keeps them hungry, and then it starts over.
Can I throw my 2 cents in here real quick?
Yeah, please. I was going to ask you actually, because this is more something you.
Yeah, Zach, I would say something super important in the beginning is you've got to get money in their pocket fast. However the pay plan is set up, you've got to get money in their pocket fast. If you're doing 7%, 10%, whatever, and you're not paying them till the end of the job, you're going to lose them. You got to get money in their pocket fast.
And that's why you want to wait until you've like collected. Like you can't, if you don't have the cash, like if you don't have ways to give them spiffs or whatever, then it's going to be hard. And that's why I like salary, because if you can make sure that at least their apartment is paid for.
Have like a draw system set up.
It can be a draw, or it can just be a salary. 500. Some people just do for 90 days. It's $500 a week, and plus like 5% gross. And then after that, it goes to 7% gross with the kicker once they grow. Like whatever it is, like do something to where like, hey, you and I both know you're probably not going to be making 10 to 15K a month right at the beginning. But we also know it's very possible, and the math works. And I'm not just bullshitting you, but let's give you something to make sure that you're not dying, and make sure you're fed, and communicate with me. Don't just come to me like begging, but communicate with me, because I'm willing to invest in making sure that you're able to thrive with my company, as long as you're investing back into us and putting the right effort. But you just have to be set up to do that, because you're going to get sob stories with commission salespeople. If the majority of their pay is commission, you're going to have people coming to you with very legitimate sounding reasons they need money. And there will be times where you probably should just pay it. Not always, but sometimes, especially early on, if you think it's someone worth betting on.
Yeah.
It's tough though. Managing salespeople is harder than just managing people.
No doubt about that.
Yep.
Well, guys, on a Stop recording.